what's poppin'? It is your Tourette's here, and I'm back with another video. Okay, so quick disclaimer before I start this video. I was using a new camera, and some of the clips were out of focus or not in frame, so I know this can kind of be annoying for some people, so please just keep that in mind. Also, my makeup in the intro and the outro, my under eyes are very casket ready, very flashback ready. I know, sis. Let's just watch the video, okay, boo? Let's get into it. Hey guys, what's poppin'? It is your girl Tourette's here, and I'm back with another video. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you guys how to install this 7x7 closure wig. As you guys can see, it's melted and laid. Also in today's video, I'm going to be using the Hold Me Down Adhesive by Ericka J, and this is my very first time using this. I was so excited to try her glue out because I've heard wonderful things about it, and I wanted to test it myself because the previous glue I used was the Lace glue, and personally for me it doesn't work that well and it doesn't give the hold that I want. So I tried this, and from what I can tell you guys, it's holding and it's holding much better than the other glue that I used. Also, I did a previous video on how I bleached and plucked this wig, so if you are interested in that, please go check that out. If you are new to my channel, please click that subscribe button down below and click the bell while you're at it so you're notified each time I post a new video. Also, follow me on Instagram at Jasmine_HWLL, and without further ado, let's get into this video. So today I'm going to be using the Hold Me Down Adhesive by Ericka J, and this is my first time using this. Before, I used to use the Lace glue, and this does not work for me. For some weird reason, it doesn't hold. It would hold for a while, and then eventually it gets tacky, so I really didn't like that. And then it slips back. It says it's waterproof, but it really isn't, for me at least. So let's try this and see how it goes. Okay, so the first thing I do is I go ahead and oil my scalp with the Wild Growth Hair Oil, and my braid pattern is usually straight back because I feel like the straight back just gives you like a very flat canvas, which is what you really want to have under your wigs. Next, I go ahead and I use 91% isopropyl alcohol on a cotton pad, and I rub that around the perimeter of my forehead to remove any oils or residues that may be on my forehead, and this can be a really crucial step in the longevity of your install. Next, I use a wig cap, and I'm using a beige colored wig cap because I prefer using beige color because I can add my foundation and make it to my exact skin tone. So this is the wig I'm going to be using, and what I like to do is place the wig on my head and kind of mark out where the lace is going to fall on the wig so I know how far to bring my ball cap down. So I'm taking a white eyeliner and I'm just making a few dots directly at the front of the hair. I would say just kind of going a little bit further. You can see I really just made a dot directly on the hairline. I would say go a little bit further back, but yeah. Next, I pull that ball cap before the lines because you want to stretch it out as much as possible so it can be pretty thin. Then I go in with my Got To Be Glued Blasting Free Spray. I spray a little bit at a time, and then I smooth it back with my fingers. After this, you go ahead and you blow dry. I didn't have a blow dryer, so I just used a fan. So once that's dry, and you'll know it's dry because it won't be tacky anymore, it won't be sticky. Once it's dry, you go ahead, you take your scissors, and you cut down the middle. Now, you want to be sure you're doing this very carefully because you don't want to cut yourself. So I make a cut down the middle. You're trying to cut as much of the loose cap as possible off. So sometimes you do go a bit too far down with your ball cap. So all you do is you kind of peel it back, and it should just lift very easily, and the whole thing shouldn't lift because it's going to be completely dry. And once you do that, you just peel it back and you just continue cutting. So next I'm going ahead with the Fit Me foundation in the shade 350 on a dense foundation brush. And I'm putting a little bit on the back of my hand, and then I just blend that foundation into my ball cap. Now when you're doing this, you want to make sure that you're getting an even blend. Don't have too much in one area and too much in another area. And then you go ahead and you go back as far back as your closure stops. So my closure is 7x7. So I'm going back pretty far because if you want to part it in any way, that ensures that you can always part your closure. Next, I'm just cutting off any of those extra caps. And this is what your ball cap should look like, or even better. So next I use the isopropyl alcohol once again, and I wipe around the perimeter of my forehead just to remove any makeup that's left. Okay, so I'm about to apply the Hold Me Down adhesive, and I'm reading the instructions, and it says directions. Apply a thin layer of glue to skin only, allow to dry until tacky. Each layer must be clear before applying the next layer. Attach unit and allow to cure for 24 hours before wetting. So I know that Ericka J, in her demo of this wig application, she uses the skin guard. However, I do not have the skin guard. I did not purchase it. So I guess that's how she made the system. So it may not be as good as hers because of course she's saying that using the skin guard would be much better. Now with initial review, compared to the Esha lace glue, the smell of this glue, it's a bit more chemically. Personally, this smells like Elmer's glue, and this has much more of a chemical type of smell, which I'm not much of a fan of, but it's glue, so I don't know what I expect more of. You get 0.7 ounces of glue, so it is a very, very small bottle. However, I know that what she's producing is about to be good, so I hope that it's worth the price. And yeah, so let's get into it. First thing I do, I go back with my wig and I make those markers once again. And these markers will help me to know where to place my glue, not to go too far. So after I make those markers, I go ahead and I make a mark in front of that mark. And I wipe away those dots, because if you leave those dots there where you're going to put your glue, it's going to show through the cap. So next I go ahead with the glue and I apply dots like around the perimeter of my forehead. And you guys can see like very, very tiny dots, and they're closely spaced together. And I would recommend not doing this. And I would say probably, if you have any tips below, please leave them, because it was kind of hard like smoothing this out correctly and getting like some on the cap and on my skin at the same time. So I would say if you're doing this, put the dots where the ball cap and your forehead meet. So that way you ensure that you're getting glue on the ball cap as well to secure down that ball cap, and you can successfully move it forward onto your forehead. So you want to make sure it's completely dry before you go ahead and you apply another layer. As you guys can see, it's completely clear and it dried like really, really quickly. So I'm doing the same step over again, and this time I'm using a rat tail comb to kind of smooth that out, and I was still struggling as per usual. So as you can see, I'm trying to move it backwards, and it's kind of making parts of my ball cap lift a little bit, like the edges of my ball cap kind of lift. So I would say place it directly where your ball cap meets so you can just smooth it forward. So I only applied 2 layers of this. I think Ericka J recommends to apply 3, but I know I was going to leave this install on for that long, so I only applied 2. And the hold was still pretty good. Okay, you guys, so this is a step where I messed up. Here is where you want to apply your foundation. Make sure you apply your foundation before you put your lace down, your foundation onto the lace or lace tint. So after the glue has completely dried clear, you go ahead and you bring the lace forward. You line the dots up with the marks that you already placed on your skin. I like to do one side at a time. I'm going to place the lace into the glue, but I'm gonna really press one side in first. So next I take my rat tail comb and I'm applying pressure, and I'm really just like combing that back while pressing down. Now, one thing that you do not want to do is use your fingers to push the lace into the glue. So I realized that some of the sides was not laying down properly. I went ahead with some glue and I just applied it and I waited for it to dry and then I stuck it down. So once you have your lace fully in the glue and it's secured, I like to go ahead and cut the lace into 4 sections. So I cut into half and I cut those halves into half. So what this does is helps me to make sure that like the front of the lace is like fully stuck down, because sometimes it's not, and this just allows you to really go in there and easily apply some glue. I go ahead with the little scarf and I tie that down for about 5 to 10 minutes just to make sure like all the glue is melted and everything is in place. And I remove that, and now it's time to cut the lace.
It was at this moment that he knew.
Oh my god, I forgot to apply foundation. I'm using a small eyebrow razor and I'm going ahead and cutting the lace. Now I like to use an eyebrow razor because it already gives you like that zigzag cut. When you are cutting with scissors, you do not want to cut straight across because it's going to look very evident and you can see that line of demarcation. Obviously you can see mine because I forgot to apply foundation. So to fix that, I go ahead and I apply foundation after. This doesn't give as neat of an effect, but it still does work. So another thing that I did forget to do before was cut these little side tabs off. And also from Ericka J, what she does when she installs, she cuts these off before installing it, and it just gives like a very smooth and flawless finish. So next I go ahead and I'm doing my edges, which is probably one of my favorite parts. What I do when I do my edges is I do a part directly at the front and I just part it out, and I personally like my edges to be a little bit thin just to look a little bit more natural. So really, to each its own. You don't want to part like a whole big piece of section. Just imagine like you're doing your actual baby hairs. You're not going to make a 2-inch section, and it depends on how full or thick you want your baby hairs to be. So once again, I'm out of frame, but I'm going ahead with the eyebrow razor and I'm cutting the baby hairs. So the shorter the baby hairs, the more natural they look. You don't want it, of course, too short because then it can't swoop nothing. So then I'm using my foaming mousse and I like to apply that directly to the baby hairs before I swoop it. As you guys can see, I thought some of the baby hairs were a little bit too long, so I go ahead and I just cut that. So next, honestly, when you are doing your baby hairs, you want to be very gentle. It's all in the flick of the wrist. Look at the flick of that wrist. You do not want to be too hard, because if you are too hard when you're doing your edges, you will lift the lace. It also depends on the mousse that you're using. I am using the Lotta Body foaming mousse, and for me this works pretty fine. Okay, so next I go ahead and do the other side, and what happened here is the brush was not cutting it for me, so I went ahead and I used a rat tail comb, and sometimes this just works even better than actually using a like edge brush. The rat tail comb just works perfectly fine, and it's not as like harsh on the lace, if that makes any sense. So once I'm satisfied with my edges, I go ahead and I tie it down with the little scarf once again. Just leave that for 5 to 10 minutes and then I remove it. Do y'all see that? Stop playing, even though the lace is a little bit light. Like, come on now. So I personally am a person that doesn't like hard edges, and hard edges to me is just like when it's just like stuck onto the forehead. I like my edges to look more natural, so I go ahead and I use the rat tail comb to kind of like lift those edges so they're not like stuck onto my forehead, and just give it like a natural look. So then I go ahead with my mousse again and I apply that to the pot just to tame those flyaways, and then I go ahead with my hot comb. So this step is like really important because it can take like your wig from a 5 to a 10, as I said in my previous video. If you don't have a hot comb, what you can do is use a curling iron, if you have like a curling iron, and a comb, and just do like a chase method. But the hot comb like really just works better. But basically after I hot comb my wig and I think it's as good as possible and the part is flat, I'm done. Alright you guys, so this is the final look. This is how the wig came out. It's really simple. It's not too hard. You can just practice. I'm still learning because over here you guys can see, this, and there's still learning processes. I'm still learning, so if you have any comments below, please leave comments on how I can better my craft. But please be very respectful. This is how I do my closure wigs and how I install it, but I'm always open to constructive criticism. So I hope this video was really helpful for you guys. If you did like it, please leave a comment and a like below, and share with your friends, your girlfriends, your mom, your auntie, whoever you got that want to get a wig like this. Share it. I also have a business page on Instagram called Hibiscustresses. If you want a wig made by myself, I can do that for you. So DM me on Instagram at Hibiscustresses, and I will leave the links below for your convenience. Bye y'all.